Pretty full house this morning, so thank you so much for taking some time to be here. And as you know, our town hall is an event that happens twice a year. And our intention of the town hall is to just update all of our investors and any interested parties in what we've been up to at PGS. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Clay Britton. You may already and probably already know him. But he wants to make a few opening statements, and then I'll come back up and tell you a little bit about what the next couple hours are going to look like. So, Clay Britton.
Thank you very much, Peggy. We are so happy to be here. I am reminded of 5 or 6 years ago, we were interviewing someone to take Brad Dean's place. It was a huge job. We found a great person. We were dealing with a viral video that had made Myrtle Beach look bad. We were facing very difficult times. We had had election upsets, and our community came together and said, we're going to make a change. We're going to do positive things for Myrtle Beach. And it is so great to stand up here and to be able to say, we've been at this for 3 years really now. And we have a really great report for you. It's going to be exciting. But there's another aspect to that, and that is you are the people who are paying for this. This is your show, you're putting it on, and we definitely want your input. And we want your input here, we want your input regularly, and there are a lot of great things about Peggy, but one of the greatest is she's always available. So if you have an idea, if you have any, we'll settle it. If you have any suggestions, you can call me or you can call Peggy and we will get it done. And Buzz, I promise you, the last thing you asked me to do, we got it and we're getting it done. Appreciate it. All right, any questions for me? If not, I'm gonna turn this over. It's gonna be a great meeting and we definitely want lots of input. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Clay. So how many of you had the opportunity to be with us for our last town hall? Okay, if you remember, we had kind of a little kind of documentary theme, and we had kind of talked about this was the beginning of what will be a series of updates. So this is, we're moving into series 2 here. So just wanted to keep that alive as we move forward. And as we get started, I wanted to take a look. You should have an agenda in front of you as well as an evaluation form. We would love for you to fill that out as we close the meeting today to just give us some feedback in terms of ways we can do things better, any thoughts or comments, suggestions. So please take advantage of that. You could just leave it at the front anonymously or otherwise, that's up to you. But as we get started, I wanted to kind of frame things up from the standpoint that we took a little different approach this time as it relates to our town hall. One of the roles that PGS has is to be the convener, if you will. Our role as we continue to evolve is to really kind of get to know all the stakeholders in this area that are working towards the positive economic and whatnot growth for the Grand Strand. And what we've done today is with the gracious support of the City of Myrtle Beach, and the COG, as well as some updates from the Myrtle Beach Regional Economic Development Team, is we have some presenters today that are going to, and MBTA, don't let me forget that, I see Jason right there. These folks are all working very hard in their individual areas of expertise. And our role as PGS is to kind of work together with them and support them. So we thought it would make a great segue for us to use our town hall to give them an opportunity to update all of you on things that are happening in their area of responsibility. So our town hall is intended to update you in all areas. You'll get an update from them, and then as you'll see in the agenda, there's a space for a panel discussion, a Q&A. The individuals that are presenting today have agreed to kind of stick around after they do their presentations to field any questions that you have. So this is a great forum to have access to these folks that are working day in and day out to continue to drive prosperity. And then we'll wrap it up with a brief recap from PGS. The meeting, town hall meeting will end up, if we stay on schedule, sometime around 10-ish, 10:30. And then we will take a break. The town hall will be over, but we do have a board meeting scheduled immediately after that. So just so everyone knows kind of the logistics of what we've got going on here. Lots of great stuff to talk about. So without further ado, as we look at our agenda, I wanted to welcome the city of Myrtle Beach. Devin Parks and Howard Waldy IV are here to actually update us on some of the stuff that's happening in the city as it relates to economic development and the exciting Smart City initiative. So with that, Devin and Howard, if you'll come up, I appreciate it.
Good morning, everybody. That was, okay, for those, if you don't know me, that is not gonna fly. Good morning, everybody. There we go, that's much better. All right, so Peggy, thank you so much for that introduction. The city of Myrtle Beach is very, very pleased to be here this morning to join you all to kind of talk about some of the work we've been doing that really started probably about 5 years ago, if not longer than that. Devin and I are fairly new to the team in the last couple of years, but we probably both feel like we've lived here forever because this community has really become a major part of everything that we do, both personally and professionally. So today we're going to talk to you about the new economy. It is the kind of economic development strategic plan that the city of Myrtle Beach has, and it really consists of 3 different components. The Arts and Innovation District, which I'm sure many of you have heard quite a bit about, and many of you in this room are actually active participants in making that development happen and occur. The second component is our Living Lab, which is the newest addition to the overall plan that we've added probably in the last year and a half. That's what you'll hear me talking about for most of this presentation. And then also a component of East of Kings. So with that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Devin, who's going to kick us off with the Arts and Innovation District.
Thank you, sir. Morning, everyone.
Morning.
I did want to just note, one thing. I'm a year and 3 months in, and every presentation that I've given, the room that I'm in, I see that many more familiar faces every single time. So it's been as I grow into my role, I appreciate everyone's support and just the community coming together. Because at the end of the day, everything we talk about without the right players in the right place are just pretty pictures, right? So appreciate everything y'all are doing on your end, and I'm excited to share what we've been working on ours as well. So I don't think it's any huge secret. We have very established bookends in the city of Myrtle Beach. We have our Market Commons area, and we have our Grand Dunes area. Beautiful mixed-use blended communities, portioned properly with residential. But we have a bit of a gap in our downtown area, right there in the heart of Myrtle Beach. There is. I think every downtown has their turnover, but at the same point in time, we have very valuable assets right here in the downtown area, right? And we've got some underperforming portions of that downtown that the good news is there's light at the end of the tunnel. There are some directions that we're taking that we believe is really going to serve as a catalyst to spur private development moving forward. So without further ado, I'm starting with the end to a certain extent. This was a culmination of our residents, our council, our staff understanding the need and realizing that revitalizing our downtown area is not going to be a Band-Aid fix, right? This is not an overnight deal. We've seen some vacancies over the last 10, 20 years, and we realized that there's going to have to be an injection of capital from the public standpoint to really spur this private development moving forward. And the beauty of it is, everything outside of this little downtown portion, there are opportunities for growth, right? You look north, you look south, you look west, and there's opportunity. So in 2019, City Council created the Downtown Master Plan, which ultimately culminated into our vision comprising of 9 key moments. The key moments you are looking at right now. Some of these key moments are taking place right now. Some of them are right around the corner, and some of them are a little bit further down the road. And I'll go back and touch on this slide again, but for right now, let's take a look at what we've been doing. Let's take a look at the 9th Avenue historic core area. So this is a before and after of Nance Plaza. Josh, you're welcome for the plug. But then again, you did have something to do with it, didn't you? So Mashburn Construction is right next door to the Grand Strand Brewery, and that was really the first big catalyst project for this block to start spurring on that development. Nance Plaza, before and after the renovation and activation, we've seen visitation increase to Nance Plaza over 32% over the past 3 years, right? So good development kind of drives out that bad. So that was where we started. Overview of this same 9th Avenue, 8th Avenue block. So this is a before of the parking lot. This is our pervious paver system. This can hold 800 gallons of water instantaneously without a single puddle. And it looks a lot better too, right? So make a little mental note of the paver system, because I will be coming back to that. So now we're on my neck of the woods, on 9th Avenue. So these buildings have sat vacant for the better part of 10, 20 years now. There's a lot of risk, and understand everything I'm talking about today is, at the end of the day, it's risk mitigation for private, right? So we want to make that transition as easy and appealing as possible. So what we did, we came in, purchased these buildings, rehabbed them using historical tax credits. Let's see, right here we have, actually it's right off the screen now, we have ESA Fitness. 2 parcels down, we have the HTC Aspire Hub, which is a co-working facility for entrepreneurs and with a tech sector focus. We have 1 building left out of those 5 vacancies. So that 1 building is still not definitive what we're gonna do, but everything else is accounted for. Lamana Bakery, they just had their ribbon cutting and grand opening last week. Was anyone able to, has anyone gone into Lamana yet? So from an economic development standpoint, most people in my position probably wouldn't be doing somersaults for a bakery, but I am. I'm so incredibly excited for that addition, because it's that step, right? So the whole goal is to create that snowball effect, that ripple effect that expounds. And I absorb. I like to watch. I like to listen. So I've just sat in Lamana since they've opened for a couple hours, just seeing the people coming in and out. And I'm seeing, in my mind, when I see a young mother with kids or a single woman coming in and walking around my downtown and going into that bakery, I know I'm heading in the right direction, right? Because everyone wants to go somewhere that's safe, right? Or that perceived as safe and that's open and vibrant. And having those kind of tenants and having these kind of people come in is a really good indicator that you're heading in the right direction. Right next door to Lamana will be the tasting room and Dalai Lama, which is a waffle and ice cream shop. The tasting room is a craft cocktail, high-end wine bar that is Johnny D's. Are you familiar with Johnny D's in this area? So Jamie Daskalis, owner of Johnny D's, is one of the partners, and her other partner, Lisa Lee, is a level 3 sommelier. So again, yes, the activation is very important, but it's also incredibly important the people that we have. So these young ladies are advocates of Myrtle Beach. They love the downtown area, and they want to create the exact atmosphere that we're looking. So Lamana opens up. Grand Strand Brewing Company has already are already working with them. They're going to be using their bread for the hamburgers. Winners is going to be pulling in from there. It's exactly what we want to see, right? We want to see our businesses working together and form that community, that sense of place. Another angle of the same thing we're looking at, tasting room, and Dalai Lama will be right here, but Teco VIP is right next door in the corner. I don't have an opening date for them just yet, but the tasting room and Dalai Lama will be open spring of 2024. So it's a puzzle, right? We're just fitting in additional pieces for that whole bigger picture. And really the name of the game for downtown is to spur that development to support our bookends, right? We want a unified city across the board, and there's opportunities out there everywhere you look. This to me, I could just title risk mitigation, right? So this is the back end of the HTC Aspire Hub. Private mom and pop coming in here and looking at this, all right, you got X amount of dollars to purchase the building. Well, now I've got to bring it up to code, right? It could cost me just as much. There's a lot of risk involved in that. We're not trying to be landlords. That's not the goal. What we are trying to do is spur and catalyze that development and mitigate risk. And now we haven't left that same block. So this is on 8th Avenue, 3 parcels that the city of Myrtle Beach will be building a state-of-the-art 300-seat performing arts auditorium, which we will be partnering with Coastal Carolina to have activated no less than 280 days a year. So again, you see these little components and the bigger picture kind of comes together, right? So this, I believe, goes out to bid in April. Don't quote me on that, I'll have to double check, but this is right around the corner as well. So you see these pieces coming together. Let me bring you back down to reality again real quick. So this is our current infrastructure system on that same block. I go back to that perception of safety, right? We have options in Myrtle Beach. If I'm somewhere confusing, I'm gonna go somewhere else. This is kind of a confusing layout. It's not what you think of when you think of a traditional downtown. So the beauty of this redevelopment project is we are able to start from the ground up. We're redoing our water, our sewer, our infrastructure. We're gonna block off the 8th or 9th, 8th blocks to really create that traditional downtown block style that we're all familiar with, right? Frontage, not that perception of space, really defined corners. And it's gonna give you the impression that, hey, this isn't somewhere you drive through, this is something we're driving to, right? This is a destination. The same pervious parking system, the brick pavers that we were looking at, that's how we're gonna guide our pedestrian thoroughfare moving forward. So we've got 9th Avenue, which is gonna be a multimodal pedestrian and vehicular route. We have 8th Avenue, which is gonna be primarily pedestrian. We will have the ability to install temporary bollards. We can block that off for events, anything that's going on the other side of Kings Highway. And also another thing of note, so right here, you're looking at Broadway Street. This is currently Broadway Street. This is currently Main Street. This realignment of our infrastructures is gonna allow us to reclaim some critical mass, some additional square footage and footprint for private infill moving forward. And our goal is to have our project completed to correlate and finish up in line with SCDOT's 501 realignment. So at the end of the day, we get back to this slide, we have our nice, pretty packaged picture. So like I was saying, historic core, 9th Avenue, these are moments that are taking place right now. Chapin Company is, we're having close conversations with them almost on the weekly about what they want to do with their building. It's eligible for historic tax credit. So again, 30,000 square feet of additional retail that I'll have the opportunity to fill here in the very near future. I'm going to skip over these two real quick because those are our next steps, and the living lab because I don't want to steal Howard's thunder, but our mixed-use gateway. So this is currently our city services. This houses a number of city departments. So obviously, the mixed-use gateway is one of those ones that's a little bit further down the road because we have to find a new location for our employees. But the mixed-use gateway will be very similar to the rest of the downtown development. It'll be commercial ground floor with residential above. Probably additional parking above that, but I would be remiss if I didn't say everything we're working on from a commercial standpoint in the downtown area cannot sustain without residential. We need new residential in our downtown area for many different reasons, right? So the business community we're creating, you have to have people that live there and frequent there. Also, we have existing communities in the immediate peripheral that we desperately need to connect to our downtown area, right? So the whole goal of this downtown project, it's not, it's a big deal to us, and it should be a big deal to you because it's the beginning of that snowball effect that I discussed at the beginning, that ripple effect where you really see developers gaining interest. And even the conversations we've been having thus far, I'm starting to get interest from the developers that are not in this area simply because of the buzz that's being spread. I mean, there's something to be said. I walk out of my office, I look to my right, and I'm staring at an ocean. You cannot replicate that. That's an asset. It's a huge asset for us. So there is a lot to be excited about. The Municipal Center, again, putting our money where our mouth is. We want our employees housed here. We want them living here. We want them working, well, obviously working here. But we want them shopping here in our shops as well. And then across the street, the A&I mixed income workforce housing. Again, we have needs for all types of housing. Had an independent study done a couple of years ago that indicated we need minimum 400 to 600 units annually in the immediate downtown area to sustain with our growth rate. which is a shocking number. Our fastest growing MSA, right? We all know that. But where are they going in this MSA? And I think the city of Myrtle Beach is missing out on an opportunity right now, but are taking steps to take advantage of that moving forward. So residential is the name of the game to supplement a lot of this commercial activity, to build out and get that private interest moving forward as well. So one of those moments that is right around the corner, our community hub and community park. This community hub will consist of, give or take, 70,000 square feet, same deal, commercial ground floor, residential activation above. And the community park, there's so many layers to the importance of this, right? So we have, right here, we've got Highway 501, our main thoroughfare into the city. We've got our rails to trails that connects to the waterway. This is the front porch of Myrtle Beach. This is the end of the road, right? So we understand the gravity of this project, and we understand the need to create an atmosphere that is safe, that is enjoyable, that is family friendly, and that's a connector, right? We all have what we have in common. We want to bring that all down here for the purposes of expanding and growing moving forward. So this is just a ground level view of what our streetscaping plan is going to look like. This is an example on 9th Avenue. The only difference is I think we're going to swap the parallel parking with the bike lane to just add an additional buffer to that bike lane for added safety. But everything's going to be connected, right? So we want to safely get you across Kings Highway to the downtown arts and innovation area and into the surrounding neighborhoods, because that's how you create vibrancy. And if that weren't enough, Mr. Howard Waldy IV, tell you a little bit about our living lab.
Awesome. Thank you, Devin. So I'm going to kind of go through this fairly quickly. If you really want to know a lot about this, I could sit down with you all day. I could sit down with you all week, all month. I love this. It is truly a passion of mine. And the great thing is it can only happen in a place like Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So I'm going to talk to you about South Carolina's Living Lab. Before I can really jump into that, I have to explain how we can diversify our economy from a technology perspective. One of the amazing things about Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, the Grand Strand, is we are a major hospitality destination. And that is never, ever going to change. We don't ever want that to change. But what we recognize is when there is massive conflict in our economy due to hurricanes or pandemics or anything like that, we see our economy hurt, right? And our local businesses hurt. And we don't want that to continue to be the case. So we kind of started doing some investigation the last couple of years, and what could we bring into Myrtle Beach that will complement the existing industry we already have and make it, that top destination anywhere in the world more than what we already are. And that's when technology came into play. So there's really three components of it. The first one is the International Technology and Aerospace Park and the subsea cables. Now, we've had them for about 2 years now, but how many of you in here know what a subsea cable is? Okay, that's a good sign. How many of you know what DC blocks is? That's an even better sign. Awesome, right? So DC blocks is our subsea cable landing station and data center, and that's really, really pivotal to developing our local tech economy. Subsea cables, they're really, really awesome in that you could have 75 million TV screens in this room. I don't think you could fit that many, but pretend we could. And at every screen, you would have a different video playing in high definition, all at once, right? Or perhaps you want to download every single episode and every single season of Friends. Well, guess what? You can do that just like that. Just snap of a finger. That's how much time it takes to download that much information, that much data because of these subsea cables. Now, the reason why that's really, really important is because every industry in the world, whether it's healthcare, defense, education, medical, you name it, banking, they all want to have access to a system and technology like that because it becomes cheaper for them to transfer data. Data is king these days just as much as money is because the money is tied to the data and vice versa. Well, we happen to have 3 of those subsea cables landing in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina because of DC blocks. And that is only capable because of another company we have in our region called HTC. So fun fact, we did a independent study through a grant partnership with Emerge and the South Carolina Department of Commerce. And in that independent study, we discovered that Myrtle Beach, and not just Myrtle Beach, but Horry County as a whole, is in the top 3% of the entire nation for having fiber coverage. And that is all due to the amazing work of HTC, right? So you've got that amazing fiber coverage. You have a local subsea cable landing station that's going to continue to have more and more development that's attracting big companies. 2 of the companies that are already here in Myrtle Beach because of that are Google and Meta. Then you throw in our other components of having a very strong regional higher education system in Coastal Carolina University and or Georgetown Tech, right? We have amazing talent that is coming out of this pipeline. The challenge, the thing that makes me sad, is when we hear from our members in our community about how their kids and grandkids graduate from these fine institutions and then leave. And the reason why they leave is because they feel like they don't have opportunity here. Those companies that they want to work for aren't located here. I'm sick and tired of hearing that just as much as all of you are. So our strategy is looking at these tech components that we already have, all of that land that's available in the ITAP, the amazing partnership opportunities with Myrtle Beach Regional Economic Development Corporation, and the land that's available throughout Horry County. We've discovered that we could turn our region into the next major tech hub in the United States. And the best part is we don't have to imagine it, it's already happening. And then we've added this other component in our Arts and Innovation District called the Living Lab. So the Living Lab is focused on smart cities technology. Now, you probably are thinking, why do I care about smart cities technology? Well, just look at it from an economic perspective. Right now, the market is estimated to be about $1 trillion. It was only estimated to go up to about 750 million by this year. But because of the pandemic, that escalated rather rapidly. They currently are estimating, various sources in the market, that the global market is set to be about $7 trillion by 2030. That's in 6 years' time. Guess how many cities and localities or regions across the United States or the globe are tapping into that market right now? Very, very few. It's only the really big ones that you can think of. It's Las Vegas, it's Silicon Valley, it's Atlanta. Myrtle Beach can play in that because we have these incredible assets that other locations across the world don't have. Now, when I talk about smart cities technology, you're probably like, Howard, we don't want Big Brother watching our every single move or telling us what to do or controlling everything. That's not what smart cities is about. Smart cities is about enhancing the services that you receive from your local government and also increasing the awesomeness of our local businesses through the use of technology. So from a smart cities perspective, it's things like acoustic gunfire detection systems, right? Where we can detect a significant larger amount of gunshots than you would in a typical 911 call. In fact, in a couple of cities that have deployed this technology, only 25% of the gunshots that they detected through the system had a corresponding 911 call. Only 25% had a corresponding 911 call. So that means there's that 75% more that's now being detected because of this really awesome technology. Other examples include...
Can you tell the difference between fireworks and gunshots?
It sure can, because there's different decibel levels. Yep.
Cool.
Other really cool things about technology with smart cities is you could do augmented reality-based tourism, such as in Athens, Greece, where the entire city of Athens, in partnership with Google, is a virtual tour that you can take by plugging into your phone. Imagine if we had that at Warbird Park. Imagine if we had that at any of our historical sites here in Myrtle Beach. It's that added element of tourism. So then we came to this idea of developing a living lab. The living lab itself is a place where companies all over the world, whether they're large or small, startups or long existing, can come into Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, work with the city of Myrtle Beach and our partners in our community to prototype and develop their technology. And the best part is, once they're done prototyping and developing it, they then get to test it in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Now, there's one other city that is fairly close that's doing this, and that's called Peachtree Corners, Georgia, about 20 miles northeast of Atlanta. Here's what sets us apart from them. Peachtree Corners, Georgia is strictly business and only business in their facility. Our facility and our program is more than just the business. It's about creating that opportunity for every single resident, not just in Myrtle Beach, but every single resident in Horry County or all of South Carolina. The other component that we've added and are working towards is making sure that our higher education institutions can have a place in this facility as well. We want students and residents and businesses and entrepreneurs, we want everybody working together to see this vision become a reality. Now, the part that I want to mention, sorry, that was all supposed to be on this slide. The part I want to mention is you're probably thinking, this might be a little far-fetched. Could this actually happen for us? The answer is yes. It's already happening. We launched the program or announced the program in January of last year to City Council. As of today, with zero marketing, I want to emphasize that, zero marketing, we have recruited over 24 companies into our Living Lab program. And of those 24 companies, we've got a mix of startups and strong, long-standing existing companies. One of them has been around for over 100 years and is a major infrastructure developer in the United States, right? Of those companies, we also have about 5 already who are looking to expand their operations into Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And by expanding, I mean they're looking at parcels to open up offices or open up manufacturing facilities, or they are advertising for jobs that they want our local talent to fill, right? I actually was happy to share one of those companies had just sent over some jobs, and that included things from a programmer all the way to a vice president of sales and marketing. That is already happening because of this vision that we are deploying here in Myrtle Beach. And the best part is it's happening through broad community support. Our Living Lab program and Living Lab idea, these are all of the folks who provided us letters of support in our grant application to the EDA for the Living Lab facility. And these are all partners that we hope we can continue working with as we develop this program. And many of them are actually in this room. So thank you very much for that support. And we look forward to continuing making this vision a reality. So that, I'm going to turn it back to Devin.
Perfect. I don't even need that minute. All right, so let's shift gears again. Thank you, Howard. Let's get back to these moments that are taking place right now. So we did send, and the end game to turn these pictures into reality. We sent out an RFQ, a request for qualifications, a little over a year ago, for just the arts and innovation, the community park and the community hub portion, and the 9th Avenue area as well. Since then, we have been, and the reason that we took a step back is we want to make sure that we partner with a developer that has not only the vision, but the internal capacity to see it come to fruition. And we realized that what our proposal was not quite enough of a footprint to really make an impact that would attract developers on a national level. So multifold why we have gone in over the past two years and methodically purchased parcels on the 7th and 8th Avenue block. One main reason, let's take Fontainebleau Inn, for example. 2 years ago, they had 232 calls for service ranging 46 different crimes. I can't even think of 46 different crimes off the top of my head, but fast forward to today, 0. City acquired that. And tore it down because good development drives out bad development, right? So also for the purposes of repackaging this request for proposal to further connect our pedestrian thoroughfare from east of Kings Highway to our Arts and Innovation District and create a footprint and an appealing enough package that will be done in a very, very unique and well done way. Like, it's very important that this project has the right partners involved, and not just locally, but on a regional level as well. So we went back to the drawing board. I am actually working on the upcoming request for proposal. I don't have a date just yet, but I do plan on having that out this year. From a financial standpoint, like I said, the city's putting their money where their mouth is. 35 million in infrastructure improvements, those are taking place right now that started. 94 million committed from the public, with the 300 million in anticipated public investment at the end of the day. So instead of roughly 8 to 10 acres with our previous RFP, we now have 47 acres to propose for development, with an estimated $1 billion in private investment. So the 200 million in private investment for A&I, 500 million for East of Kings, we estimate this will bring in about 1,000 new jobs. $5 million in property tax a year, 1 million in local retail, business license 4 million, and 500,000 a year in hotel taxes, which over 30 years, we're talking $400 million of investment, cumulative tax revenue moving forward. So that is all I have. Thank you all for your time.
So really what we're doing here today is giving you an opportunity to be informed and hopefully be excited about the stuff that's coming down into the Myrtle Beach area. And we need you to take this information and cascade it throughout the marketplace. Because the more people know, the more energized they're going to get, and the more positive momentum we will continue to build. So your role doesn't end in this meeting, in this chair. We hope that you'll take this back with you and share it, because there are amazing things brewing in this marketplace. And with that, I want to introduce you to Jason Green. Many of you have probably met him before, but he's got some amazing things to tell you too about what's brewing for the downtown Myrtle Beach area. Thank you, Jason. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for allowing me to present today. As Peggy said, I'm Jason Green. I'm the CEO of the Downtown Alliance. So I'm going to go over kind of what we've been working on for the last 9 months since I started back in May of last year. Part of that is really kind of crafting what downtown means for our community, right? We spent the summer working on our strategic plan. We got that approved back in August from our board. We presented it to City Council back in September of last year, and we've been executing ever since. And we've been learning as we go, because that's really kind of what you do when you're building an airplane and flying it at the same time, which is I think what we feel like a lot of the times. But I do want to really thank Tanya Gore and Michelle Canty for being part of our team. The three of us are really driving this as hard as we can, because we feel like there's a lot to do, and we're excited about where we're going. So we have this end state that we proposed as part of our strategic plan. It was a drawing that was created by James Lehman and Rob Lane as part of their consultancy with the One Grand Strand, as well as the city back in 2019. This drawing here kind of creates this vision of a walkable, bikeable downtown that has all these pockets of activity that connect one another. The Broadway Street, the Arts and Innovation District, East of Kings Highway, pretty much the entire site, and really some very deliberate connections from the beach back into downtown, which we think is a really important part. But ultimately what we're trying to do is create this very distinct and authentic downtown that we can all be proud of as a community. The focus area is this teal line that you have here as far as the redevelopment effort, but we know it could be more expansive both north and south along Kings Highway. The dark blue area is the municipal improvement district that helps fund some of the activity that we have. Our strategic plan talks about a couple of different pieces. First of all is this resident experience that we have, which connects the ocean to downtown. So very deliberate ways through Wither Swash, 7th, 8th, and 9th Avenue North are very deliberate pathways into downtown that we really want to emphasize through that. The second part is the scenic and episodic experience, where folks are knowing that they come into downtown. If you drive down Kings Highway, I've heard this a lot from folks and talking to them over the last 9 months. It's like, we can't wait to get to the other side, is often what I hear. We really want them to stop and enjoy what's happening in downtown. So creating these scenic experiences where you know you've entered into downtown, and second of all, these episodic experiences where you can come in, enjoy a dinner, a show, and then go home for the evening. And then the third part is this lifestyle experience. We talk about these pockets of activity that will ultimately be created, like the Arts and Innovation District and whatever happens on the east side of Kings Highway, Broadway Street, and other things that happen. We want to be able to connect them in very deliberate ways that are safe and convenient and enjoyable, and experiences in their own right in downtown, which we think is important. And then ultimately these connecting points, we want to be very deliberate about showing folks that they've entered into downtown. But how that fits into the greater picture, we have some great assets in our community, like the East Coast Greenway and the proposed rail to trail, and Coast RTA's new transfer station is really going to allow Oak Street and Highway 15 to be really deliberate corridors to getting into downtown, which we think are really going to be great entry points and being able to showcase and expand to the rest of Myrtle Beach and Horry counties. But we're here to create these experiences. That's what the Downtown Alliance is really here for. And we want to drive this vision that we have to fruition. So we started off by doing recently some visioning work. We recognize that the visioning work that's been done is very much at a 50,000 foot view, and we want to drive that down to 1,000 foot view, really mainly for one big reason, and that's to create these experiences as we're trying to develop this. But also this detailed planning work of driving it down to 1,000 foot is to make sure that we're telling developers and investors that Devin, myself, Brian Tucker, and a lot of other folks are talking to tell them what we want as a community. And the way that we've done that is we started with some stakeholder meetings recently. We just started those back in early January. We just finished them up last week. Interviewed 65 people, invited about 100 people to participate from a variety of businesses, residents as well, and also other stakeholder organizations. And we've gotten some really wonderful input from them as to how we can drive this and drive this vision the right direction. The way that we've done that is we've broken it into 3 parts. The architectural work, the architectural standards are not just for the district, but the neighborhood level within the district, which includes business neighborhoods. The park level design, the street level design, as well as architectural building designs that we are working on right now. We started branding and wayfinding just a few weeks ago. We think that will take about 7 or 8 months to get right as we continue down that path. And then also a downtown theme that our board approved back in January, just a month ago, to take the public input, which we'll be taking the public input in March. We start some in a public art placement program to be very deliberate about public art in downtown. So these 3 things together, what we realized as we started all 3 is that there's a tremendous amount of coordination that we didn't know as we started each one. So we started coordinating all of that. There's about 30 different stakeholders involved from an organizational standpoint involved in these 3 processes that we're running right now. And we're really excited that the coordination is really tight and we're getting some great communication and some great input from everybody. The theme that we had, we started working on this back in November of last year with the Cultural Resource Committee from the city and the CVB and the Chamber of Commerce. Started working on an idea of a theme for downtown. And we think the sunrise is such a renewing experience that we thought that it could be a great theme for downtown in terms of public art. What we realized that it was a great theme in general for downtown. So we're running with that right now. That's why we're going to public input to really start to get into that. But the idea is that we have this arc that really is created from Witherswash all the way through 7th, 8th, and 9th Avenue corridor. And we really want to make sure that we're seeing this as a sunrise coming out of the ground. We're revitalizing downtown. We want the sun to rise right out of the ocean and help us revitalize our downtown. So we're using that as kind of a visionary statement in terms of downtown, but we think the public art can be very deliberate as part of this theme to really create this look and feel in downtown that I think we can all enjoy. There's some examples of sun-based art that you might see around the world. And we think we can have some of that here in downtown Myrtle Beach to do that. There are 3 other pieces of this. The innovation side that Howard spoke about just a moment ago, the projects that Devin spoke about as well, and events and programs that we run with the Downtown Alliance as well as every other event programmer. We can theme these things now and be part of this and making sure all 6 of these components are really driving what we need in downtown to create this very unique and very authentic and very distinct experience in downtown that I think we would all enjoy as a community, as well as visitors alike. This is our theming and branding design. We started the stakeholder meetings. We just finished those up. Community input starts in March. We'll take that through the end of the year. We'll take a break during the summer. But we have the first round of those happening between March and May. We'll start second round probably in September and finish that up in November. But that's going to take us, this first round will take us to about a 50% goal. In the fall, will get us to about an 80 to 90% goal on these design standards. And then in March of next year, we expect to get our deliverable, which will be the overlays, which will be a precursor to the zoning rewrite that the city's planning on doing, as well as the standards that we can hand over to the city as well as part of the work that we're doing concurrently with them. But the theming work is happening, the branding and wayfinding is underway, the architectural design is underway. Lighting will start probably in the fall or close to the fall. And the reason is that we have work to do first before we can get the lighting started. The lighting is artistic in its own right. We want to make sure that the lighting complements these designs that we're putting together. So we have talked with Lenny Swendinger, who's a world-renowned lighting design artist. She's very excited about getting engaged, assuming we have the resources to do that. But the idea is that we may end up phasing her over some time to make sure that we can do this just right and making sure that downtown's an experience in its own right. So we have a lot of work to do still. Complementary with that and kind of simultaneously is we're driving incentives relative to Devin's comment about development and the private-public partnership that would have to exist in redevelopment. We're driving that and other policies with respect to development, and then also working on our rail to trail advocacy, which we just kicked off last week. So we are moving forward on that, and there's several other things that we're doing as well. Storytelling is a big part of what we do, and which is why we brought on Michelle Canty, our marketing director, and Tanya Gore will be taking over the lead on our marketing, or I'm sorry, on our design and theming in the next couple of weeks. So we're excited about that. Moving forward, so storytelling, as I mentioned, this telling the sense of place or creating the sense of place in the development work and the revitalization and the risk mitigation that Devin mentioned, there's a story to be told there. And we want to tell a story of our past, our present, and our future as we continue the redevelopment work going into downtown. Our supporting efforts with that, our policy and incentives part, all of this is our operational model that we have crafted as part of what we're doing. The design piece is in the center and the storytelling is going to be fairly ubiquitous to everything that we do. But infrastructure, policy and incentives, and planning and advocacy are always going to be continuous for us. This is a target by design. The center of that target is the vision of downtown. So if we hit the bullseye, we know we're on the right track. What we are grateful for is the contribution that this foundation gave us with respect to a grant last year with respect to Broadway improvements. We are nearly finished with everything. We're down to the thermoplast installation. We are working with the city. They had some work to do when crossing Broadway Street at 6th Avenue North, so we've delayed that on purpose. But everything else that we have looked at so far is either planned or has been executed. A couple of pictures of the improvements. Mike, you might like this being teal benches and trash cans.
Well played.
So we pressure washed the streets. The business owners on Broadway love that we pressure wash. It actually brought a great deal of vitality to Broadway Street again. And then changing the old benches out with some new ones, a little bit more durable, has added a different flair to Broadway Street than we've seen before. The business owners on Broadway are very excited about it. We're gotten a lot of positive feedback for the improvements so far. Working with Howard in the innovation side, the smart pole pilot that the city is planning is going to happen on Broadway Street, so we can test the technologies that could be connected to a smart pole. And then the crosswalks, as I mentioned, that's coming later. These are some of the conceptual designs that have been approved that you'll likely see on Broadway when we get to that point, which I would expect in the next few months we'll have those done. And I know the Q&A is coming later, so I will not ask for questions today. So,
Jason, thank you so much. A couple of things I jotted down as I was listening to both presentations is this whole notion of, thank you, of integration. Did you hear that and pick up on how closely the MBDA and the city and the smart city initiatives, they're all coming together and they're working really closely together. Our role as PGS is to support it, but isn't that not awesome that we're starting to see that kind of synergy take place and we're starting to see the individuals that are really going to drive results, not working in silos, but working beside each other, rolling their sleeves up and making it happen. So we thank you for all of the work that you guys are doing, and we are extremely hopeful. The other thing that I'll just say as we segue is the plans that I hear here are very intentional. And when I say intentional, I mean, you know, there's a lot of us that think, well, I don't want to lose the charm of Myrtle Beach. And Myrtle Beach has always been kind of this tourism location and so forth. Hopefully you can see in these plans that the team has taken into consideration what the right blend is. What is the right blend between economic growth, retaining tourism, creating a great experience for people when they come to this area, and do it all with the same kind of identity that Myrtle Beach has always had. So I've not had a conversation with any of them that don't take into consideration the cultural uniqueness of this area, as well as this kind of small town feel, even though we get how many, 15 million? 18, sorry, coming in every year. So I just wanted to point those couple things out, because if you've ever done economic development or been involved in another city, too often it gets too focused on let's bring the business in, let's get it rolling, And there isn't the time, energy, and effort spent on weaving together who you really want to be. And I really think that this group is doing a great job in identifying and delivering against who we want to be in Myrtle Beach. And as you have thoughts of your own, they are wide open and interested in that. So I think we should feel really good and hopeful about what the future has in store with these folks at the helm. With that, I'm going to segue for just a quick minute. We have one more presenter and then we'll open it up to questions from the team. But we have a switch here to talk a little bit about the working environment to workforce. And we have Isla Dyer here with us from the Waccamaw Regional Council of Governments. And she's just going to walk through very briefly some of the resources and some of the data points and so forth that really kind of build the landscape for our workforce here. Because with all this great growth that these folks are driving, we need to have the right folks ready to go and take these jobs. So with that, I'll turn it over to Isla. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. So again, I'm Isla Dyer, and I'm with the Waccamaw Regional Council of Governments, and I'm their Workforce Development Director there. The way I wanted to do this today was kind of talk to you a little bit. I know most of you know what COGS are, and if you don't, I'm just going to give you a really brief summary of what it is that COGS do, because I learned a lot just doing this presentation, because I am very focused in workforce development, because that's what I do, that's what I focus on. But we have so many different departments that handle things, and I thought it was kind of cool because they all link to your pillars of partnership Grand Strand, and I wanted to kind of point out how they do that. But first, before I get started, a COG, there are 12 in the state. We are one of them, and we cover Horry, Georgetown, and Williamsburg counties. So we've got that region for us. We are made up of a 25-member board, and all of the people on the board are appointed by our local state representatives. Also, basically the point of a COG is to kind of serve as a representative of mainly counties and cities and bring them together to kind of, coordinate mutual concerns that may cross jurisdictional lines. Also, we have all these different departments that I was talking about. We've got planning department, aging and disabilities, economic development, and workforce department. Again, I have notes because when I talk about some of these other departments, I don't know a lot about. I know what they do, but I don't know the details. And again, I thought it was really cool how we definitely line up with your 4 pillars. So the next one I want to talk about, prosperity is one of your pillars. And when I was reading through the bullets underneath it, one of the things that was mentioned was identifying industries that were in demand. We do that. We have had to do that with our region. And when I say region, I'm talking about a super region. It's made up of Waccamaw, the PD local area, and also Santee Lynches. And when we, through lots of years of data research and talking to stakeholders and employers, we came up with those 3 local areas. The target industries for us is healthcare, hospitality, and manufacturing. Go figure, right? The other thing I saw in your pillar under prosperity was having a rapid response system. Well, we have that when in collaboration with SCDEW, which is Department of Employment and Workforce, the DO. We have a system where we can offer resources to employers that are shutting down or laying off. And what we can do is we can go to all of those employers and we can sit with the people who are going to lose their jobs and talk to them about these are the services that we can provide. You can come here to the SC Work Center and file for unemployment, or we can help you with our WIOA program, which I'll talk about a little bit later. We also have incumbent worker training, and this is when Workforce Development Department has additional funds. If there's a company who needs to expand, we can go in and we can help them with any kind of training they might need, especially if it's training related to retooling or reorganization, restructuring. We can go in and help reimburse for a lot of those classes. It's a great program, a great resource for employers. And then we have labor market information on the FC Works website. Really good data, population, unemployment rates, projected growth, anything you can think of is on that website. One of the other things is the revolving loan fund. This is for any type of business that cannot obtain traditional banking. We have funds that will help anywhere from $50,000 to $750,000. And then the other thing we do is the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy sets, which is it's a locally based, regionally driven economic development planning tool, and it's a document that brings together the region and all of the partners to come up with strengths and weaknesses and any other kind of issues that we might have in order to make the economy better. And then finally, one of the other programs is the SC Best program, which is brownfields. And that is, a brownfields is anywhere that is a contaminated property or thought to be contaminated, and we'll take some of our funds and try and put together a packet that will help them maybe be able to reuse those sites, because a lot of times you'll find those in the urban core near transit centers and also in underserved communities. So that's for prosperity. Then when we talk about place, we have a planning department. This planning department provides assistance on anything from hazard mitigation plans, planning studies, zoning ordinances, and anything you can think of that's planning related. We also surveyed the whole region for broadband services to see what other rural areas might need broadband to get more funds from the feds for that. And we have an EDA and CDBG grant writing and administration. Those funds are used to help infrastructure in the community. We have, just in the past year alone, the COG has directly and indirectly contributed to $17 million worth of grant money for our region. So that's a good deal. We also have air and water quality management programs, which help the regions kind of identify what's going on, what the problem is. Have stakeholders come together to talk about issues that might help make the air and water quality better. And we have an aging and disability department, and they are fabulous. They really help contribute to seniors and their caregivers. They help make sure that they can promote the well-being and high quality of life of anybody who might want to live at home for as long as they possibly can. And we also have a aging and disability resource center for anybody with disabilities and seniors, and again, they're caregivers, which is really great. And they provide any kind of information support, even small grants for family caregivers. We also do health insurance counseling, so you can imagine during open enrollment for Medicare season, it is very, very busy. And then we also have an ombudsman in our office who goes out to nursing homes and assisted living facilities to make sure that people are being taken care of and everything's safe in the way it should be. And really cool now is we just started this no-cost transportation service, so anybody who needs to get to an appointment can reach out and call us. And through the use of Uber or other transportation agencies, we can get people from their house to a doctor's appointment anywhere they need to go. So it's a really good, it's been a lot of help, and I can tell you the calls come in all the time for that. There's a huge need for that. Infrastructure, I'm going to talk about this really brief because this is one planning area, one department that I just do not know a lot about. And yeah, so I think I'll stick with workforce when it comes to transit and all this stuff. So we do a transit coordination plan, which helps the area figure out what kind of needs there are, if there are any gaps in services. And then there's the rural transit planning, which obviously is the rural area, and that's where we kind of reach out and let the rural transportation providers know what kind of transportation funds are available for them. And then there's urban, which is the city areas where we have some funds that we can put together, we administer some of those, and any eligible projects, we can go ahead and fund that too. And we also are part of GSAT, the Grand Strand Area Transportation Study Program. This is a forum for cooperative decision-making and developing transportation plans. And this is important. The Waccamaw Regional Council of Government has planning staff on the policy committee. This is important because this is where the 25-year long-range plan is made, and anybody who's wanting to receive any federal funds has to be included in that plan in order to receive federal funding. And then we also work with Coast RTA. The COG has given money has awarded grants to Coast RTA to purchase ADA vehicles and provide operating activities. Okay, now we're in my, in my area, thank God. When it comes to talent, this is obviously really workforce-based. So the COG administers the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act program. I don't know if y'all have heard of it. We call it WIO. Jason was on our board for a while. It's a federal program, and the money comes from the Department of Labor, who then gives it to the states. In our case, it's Department of Employment and Workforce, and then that money comes to the 12 local workforce areas, Waccamaw being one of them. It supports, I call it a two-pronged program. We've got help for job seekers and we've got help for employers. So when you've got, for the job seekers, people coming in, they're obviously in need of help. They want something, they are unemployed, they might be underemployed, they might have certain barriers that they just can't get that job, or they might need training to help them get to where they need to be so that they'll have some good skills. So we will provide training for people up to $4,000 per program year. It's a 2-year program. We like to do certificates because most of the people coming in really need that kind of job. We love to put people into trades, especially because, we need plumbers and heating and air people. We try and hit all of the in-demand industries when it comes to people coming in. We provide supportive services for them. It's a great program. It's free of charge to everybody. Of course, we're paying for it through our taxes, but it's free to everybody else. And it's 18 and up, so anybody, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can apply to be in this program. There are eligibility requirements. We also have a dislocated work program, so anybody who has lost their job through no fault of their own is automatically eligible for the program, and we can either, again, put them into training if they want to do something completely different, or we can put them on a job. And this is where I'm going to turn over into the employer piece of it. So in terms of employers, we can provide on-the-job trainings for people where they can, the participant will be hired through the company, but we'll reimburse the company up to 75% of their wages for about 500 hours, because that's usually what it takes to learn the job. Or we can do an internship, paid work experience, however you want to call it, and that's where we will, again, 500 hours, but we will put them on the job, but we will pay them completely. They're not on your payroll. It's a great way for, I kind of feel like it's a matchmaker thing, where we're trying to find the job seeker and the employers and bring them together and see if they're going to date well and turn into something better after a while. And then we also target the youth, anybody from 16 to 24, but they have to be out of school. And we can do training for them. We can also put them on OJTs or work experiences. We also run the SC Work Centers. I'm sure you all have heard of those, but we like to people call them the Unemployment Center. We like to keep trying so hard to rebrand it to the Reemployment Center. People come in unemployed, but our goal is to get them reemployed. So we have public access. People can come in and do whatever they need to do in there, file for unemployment, look for jobs, talk to a WIOA staff person. Our center in Conway is right behind Horry Georgetown Tech. And there we have other departments, other services. We have DSS there. We have Adult Ed has a station there. So it's truly a one-stop in Conway where somebody can come in, they'll be triaged, see what kind of services they may need, and then we can direct them in the right direction. We also do a lot of job fairs, and we also have virtual reality headsets that we take to the schools, and they love that because it's all career exploration. Yesterday we were actually in Greeleyville at C.E. Murray High School, well, at the middle school now, but they had a ball. They were learning how to install solar panels and it's all hands-on, obviously, and they were doing digging cable lines underground. So that's a really good tool to use when it comes to our youth, that's for sure. But that's really all I have about this. Workforce, again, there's so much more I could say, but I don't want to go into all of it right now. I'd love to, but I won't. So I will be around for any more questions you have, and if you have questions about other departments, I can promise you that I brought their business cards, so that I can point you, I can say, just hand it to you, and you can call them directly. But, thank you so much again for letting me talk to you today. Stay right here, okay?
If I could invite the speakers to come on up here for just a quick minute. So you've heard a lot of information. Is there anything that's on your mind that you think you would like to know from these experts in this area? Now is a great time to ask. Yes, sir.
Which,
Go ahead, Dr. Benson.
No, go ahead, please.
Well, I was just gonna ask, I mean, you talked a lot about the 501 realignment. Was there an updated timeline on when that, moving forward, that you know of, and how that integrates into the streetscape improvements in arts and innovation?
fair question. So the SCDOT project was scheduled to go out for bid in January. It's been pushed to April. My understanding is that's not going to impede on our plans in any way, shape, or form to finish up our streetscaping in correlation with their realignment.
I apologize for being late, but Karen told me, give a shout out to the university and the theater. I'm happy to report that next week our board, that will, we hope, approve the proposed lease, which means the work can start, and we hope that it can be done by 2026. So I know that's kind of a linchpin to the whole kind of revitalization of that particular park. This is a question for the chamber too. Last year we made a request for support from the legislature. I'm confident we did the same thing this year. How's that looking, and how much is it?
So, yes, so the city has made a major request to leadership for $75 million for downtown infrastructure for the city of Myrtle Beach. And so the Chamber and Partnership Grand Strand quote, pleased and proud to support that. So we put an official letter together supporting that. And we've been working and talking with all the members of the delegation. And just yesterday, Jimmy sat in with Brian Tucker from the city of Myrtle Beach and Representative Tim McGinnis out in your neck of the woods. And we met with most of the other delegation members, chatting with them about that, to ask them to support that as well as the budget process starts. So we're very optimistic that that's going forward and that the delegation is supportive of that and aware of that. And then obviously it's got to play out over the next couple of months or so from a budget perspective. So I had the privilege of sitting in on a meeting that Mayor Bethune had with Marl Smith, our leader, in House of the House last year in the fall. And he got to see the presentation that Howard and Devin have shared with you essentially today. And his words were bold, visionary. This is super exciting. You should be asking the General Assembly for major dollars in infrastructure to help the city get this going. So based on that encouragement, Mayor Bethune and City Council decided that this was the year to really go for it and ask for that. So not sure exactly how much money will be granted. It's always a jump ball in Columbia, we all know that, but again, I think that everyone's aligned, and as Peggy was saying this morning, there's just a lot of coordination and collaboration, and people are unified around pushing to get this done. So feeling really good about that.
So whatever the state does fits into those tranches that you had on the slide of components of the private support and public.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Because they understand the city can't do it all itself.
Yeah.
Right, and it needs state support. All the other major communities of our state have asked for similar support over the last 10 years, and they have received support like this, so it's not unprecedented at all.
Yes, sir.
Howard, this is for you. Where were you 15 years ago when I was on the EDC board? We were told by every expert that ITAP Park was unique and the key to moving this area forward, and it's just so exciting to see what you're doing now. And I think if you solve that problem, all the rest of what the rest of you are doing, it's going to solve itself. Because that'll raise the income levels of everyone. And the reason I got involved with economic development to begin with was what you said. to keep young people home instead of moving away. So thank you for what you're doing.
So Virginia Beach's loss is our gain.
Yes.
That's where they stole.
And then I got a quick one for Ida. If we take someone on the job training and are we covered for workman's comp until you get off the payroll or not?
Not for on-the-job training because they're your employee. They're hired to you. Now, work experience, yes, they are covered under our workman's comp for that period of time.
So, but if they file a claim, who's it on, us or?
If it's a work experience, because they're not hired by you, we pay them their stipend, they're on ours. They would file they would not file through you. But if it's an OJT, then it's just like a normal employee.
And I just wanted to add, as Karen and Peggy has mentioned about that coordination, a lot of what we now get to benefit from the ITAP and DC blocks, a lot of that, I got to walk into it because of the work that Sandy Davis and team has been doing with the NVRDC. Like, it's just awesome to come into a community and see all the stars aligning together.
So I have a question for the panel. Did you each learn something that you didn't know today from each other listening to these different presentations? I know I did.
That's a tough one for me.
Tell the truth.
I mean, I work with Jason on the weekly, so he made sure that I'm informed on what
We're
he's
like a
got.
two-headed monster.
Some workforce initiatives that, I was not aware of.
I learned a lot about
You had a
the
question?
beach, so, yeah.
Yeah, it's more of a comment than a question. I was city engineer for Myrtle Beach 10 years ago, and I worked on roads to trails, and I worked on the 501 realignment. So I got a lot of plans that are probably still at the city from those, they're all on aerials. But I had a lot of good ideas and stuff to do, which you guys obviously would have been around then as well. But I'm still interested in helping you guys on the rails to trails projects or any of the downtown stuff. Our office used to be at 511 Broadway Street, but I got tired of it during COVID, so I finally moved us up to the north end. So glad to see y'all working on that area down there. And if there's any way I can help, I'm a professional engineer, work for an engineering firm here in the city. So I'm always open for a phone call if you guys got any questions about engineering or codes or structural or anything y'all got.
You've got a card, I'd love to have it.
Well, any other questions?
Jason wins swig and swine of.
I don't know, they started their burners the other day, so it should be any moment now.
Well, let's give these folks a round of applause. Of course. I'm going to turn it over to BJ. As many of you have met BJ, he is leading our workforce and talent development pillar. So drum roll for BJ.
I've heard workforce multiple times in the last probably hour and 15 minutes. So obviously that's top of mind for a majority of the businesses in the community. And I'm really excited to be working on that pillar. So I wouldn't be me if I didn't give you guys some numbers to look at, because that's the Coastal Carolina economics degree in me that I'm very, very, very proud of, and so is my mom. So when we look at where we are, this is Q2 2023. And our last board meeting, we continually talked about why our young professionals leaving. I think Howard brought that point up earlier. And really, it can trend back to the diversification of our economy. When we look at where the jobs are currently versus where we compare in the rest of the state, there's a little bit of a different mix there. So what we're doing is continuing to build up data points to tell that story, because I think it was Mr. Giannis, you said a moment ago, as we diversify again, that's going to bring those higher paying jobs. That's going to keep the kids in our community. So that's really my primary focus in this pillar, is working with young talent and retaining talent in our community. So I'm not going to drill down too hard on the labor market update, but again, if you want some more data points about this, I'm happy to share that with you out of interest of time. But in the quick little over a year that we've been at this, one of the primary focuses has been bridging the gap between education and employment. And I'm not going to go into, again, every single initiative, but we have an initiative in every academic institution in our community, at every level, I should say. Or K through 12, our our community college, and CCU. And the one thing I want to share with the business community is that all these institutions will tell you the doors are wide open for you to work with their students. There's really not as much of a barrier as there used to be. So really proud of that. So if you want to get engaged with these students, they're here. What I've seen in my observations is that, there's a perception that the youth maybe doesn't want to work, or they have different priorities. They want to be TikTok influencers and all those good things. That's not true either. These kids are well prepared. They're doing career technology education. They're getting credentials. They're workforce ready. It's up to us to actually engage with them and interact with them at different levels to find the workforce that we're looking for. So I do want to put a little bit of onus back into the business community, and I'll continue to do that, is those who cooperate and participate and engage with students will find that future workforce. I'm not talking about workforce today. That's something that the COG works with. That's something that SCDO works with. I'm talking about the future workforce. We have to start developing that. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox there on that one. And so here's some priorities that the U.S. Chamber is looking at. One of them being how ESSER funds are used. If you're not familiar with ESSER funds, that's COVID relief funds. Those funds were designed to basically make sure that kids who were having that learning loss during the pandemic got back up to speed. So Horry County Schools was delivered quite a chunk of money to do that, and they're using that effectively. They're updating buildings, they're updating tutoring opportunities, and all those good things. The next thing that we're looking at is AI in the workforce. Now, when I think about AI, I'm not talking about kids cheating on ChatGPT on the term paper, right? AI is going to, in my opinion, and what experts are saying, they're going to change how we do manufacturing and repetitive jobs, even checking in hotels, things like that. So when you think about what the future of the workforce looks like in the AI world, these are going to be employees that need to be better equipped with soft skills, better equipped to be able to do critical thinking, and better equipped to be able to interact on that face-to-face, day-to-day, and manage people. So again, that's something that when we're talking to the schools, we're talking about what's coming up, we want to make sure that the future workforce is prepared for that. And then really quickly, skills-based hiring. So just to throw another number out there, right now there's roughly 8.8 million jobs posted in America. So 8.8 million opportunities for someone to find work. When we talk about how many people across the country are unemployed, 6.3 million. So even if everyone who got a job, who was unemployed got a job, we're still short 2 million people, right? So that's something we need to consider about when we talk about how we're hiring folks. Skills-based hiring is basically the opportunity to look at someone's resume and not necessarily always look at their credential. An example of that would be if you're looking to hire an admin assistant. Do they really need to have a bachelor's degree to be your admin assistant? Maybe an associate degree may work. But some of the hiring platforms like Indeed or ADP, they have those knockout questions that if you don't have that specific credential, you automatically get excluded from that pool. So we really need to take a step back and look at folks' skills and their credentials versus looking at just what they, let me take that step back. Look at their skills and not just their credentials there. And then the last thing we're gonna talk about is untapped potential. And this is childcare. So now we're talking about another barrier of entry into the workforce for a lot of folks in our community. And what untapped potential is, it's a study that we're partnering, Jimmy's helping us out with this, is analyzing how much lost revenue does the state have due to childcare obstacles. So an example would be Texas. Texas had $9.6 billion of lost revenue because of childcare obstacles. So we're talking about, parents not going into the workforce. We're talking about all those different things that prevent folks from being able to earn income and pay into that tax structure to grow the community. So we're looking at hopefully narrowing that down and trying to do a study just for Horry County if possible. But it'd be great to do it at the state level as well. And so I'm going to kick it over to.
Well, before we segue into prosperity, I want to just ask a question. How many of you have heard of our career readiness program? Okay. BJ went through those things so fast and he spent so much time working on them. I want to make sure that everybody knows that is a program that's open to all of you and anyone you know that owns a business. And it is a great opportunity to connect with Horry County schools. You get a chance to tour all the schools, you learn about their CTE program, and if any of you have an interest or opportunity, this is your gentleman. He has paved the way to bridge that gap between the high school talent and our workforce. So please take advantage of that opportunity. And then how many of you have heard of Be Something or Start Something Amazing? as many hands, right? Start Something Amazing is another program that BJ's been working really hard on. Right now, it's primarily focused on healthcare, but essentially what it's doing is, again, bridging that gap in a way that works for healthcare, which is meaning we're taking these students that are interested in health sciences, and we're giving them an opportunity to tour the local hospitals. And they get an opportunity not only to see what happens in a hospital, but to understand all of the career paths that are available that may not require a 4-year degree. A lot of folks think, oh, I might not want to be a nurse or a doctor. What this is doing is it's paving a way for those 2-year associate level degrees, or even just credentialing opportunities, because the hospitals need that help. So that's another opportunity. We plan to segue that into trade here in the spring or summer of this year, working closely with HGTC. So I wanted to make sure I called those 2 programs out, because those are real and tangible. They're available for you now. And if there's an interest, or anyone you know in those areas that wants to learn more about them, BJ's your guy.
Can I ask one question real quick? BJ, if our company wanted to maybe get more involved with CCU and have a way to maybe have CCU students coming as they're looking for a job to work in our company in hopes that we could keep them here, is there a program that
Yeah.
help us in it?
Thanks for the plug, Clay. I was so worried about time, I didn't really elaborate. So one of the opportunities that we're really excited about that's coming up now is our RISE internship program. And so that's an opportunity for any business to submit a job description. It is a paid internship process, but basically Dr. Pam Martin at the college will recruit students to meet your job description. And those students can intern in your building or in your place of business for, depending on summer or spring terms. But basically you can have anywhere from 10 to, I want to say, 18 weeks or 16 weeks, depending on the term. In that program, we're seeing a 60% retention from the students who participate in that. So that would be someone who's more of a high level opportunity for like a mid-level manager, or someone you're going to put in marketing, entry level, that type of thing. Maybe not someone necessarily for the front desk or housekeeping, but just a little bit higher position. Beyond that, there's several opportunities within the university to be able to seek internships with different students at different levels at different places. So they do summer hiring events and all those things, so we can get just about any business connected, as long as Dr. Benson doesn't remove my alumni sticker. So, as long as I can get on the campus, we'll make sure businesses have access to CCU students. Again, the doors are open, so if you guys just let us know what your need is, I'm sure there's an opportunity at the university. And lastly, really quick, I do want to elaborate on the Start Something Amazing. It sounds like a very simple concept. We're taking high school students through tours on the campuses of the hospitals, but really what it is a supply chain management approach to hiring talent. So we call that our talent pipeline management program, and that's kind of where we're going. And what we're doing is getting the hospital systems to come together and recruit in a uniform way. So the job descriptions that the students see, the branding that the students see, it's all uniform, it's all the same thing. But when you go to the hospital, you may see a different experience. So I see my friends from McLeod over there in the corner, so I want to make sure I connect you guys before you leave, so you guys are up to speed on that as well. You've participated in it before, but want to make sure you guys are involved. But we're going to be able to, like Peggy said, replicate that into different industries to make sure we're having a uniform way to recruit talent. So with that, now I will get involved.
I'm so sorry you've been so quiet and so slow in this first year, BJ.
I know. I do have one gray hair right here, just so you guys, and I was not there in 2022.
Good morning. I'm Mark Schauber, and I am the Entrepreneur Retention Manager is the official title. And so I stood here about 6 months ago and expressed a lot of optimism and enthusiasm for what I was about to embark on, engaging with businesses. And I'd like to thank Jason and Howard and Devin and Sandy and Sandra at the Economic Development Corporation, because in our conversations, they've helped sort of hone in on something I think where Partnership Grand Strand can really bring in some value add. And that is, when we talk about business retention and expansion, we talk about big businesses where Sandy looks at folks over 35 employees, where you can look at the city where we're trying to focus on all the great projects that you just saw on, but an opportunity to engage with small businesses and look at small business retention and expansion, I think is an area that we can focus on here. And that term, business retention and expansion, is a term that's out there in the industry for different communities that engage in this. But I like to look at it like gardening. If you think about it like gardening, if you grew up with a garden in your backyard like I did, you had a little greenhouse, you had these little tiny pots with little one leaf popped out, and that was a plant that later on maybe gave you 100 pumpkins or something along that lines. So that's what we're doing with small business retention and expansion. We held off on talking deliberately with businesses inside the city to allow time for some of the plans to come together and some of that engagement to happen that you just heard about that the Alliance is working on. And we stayed away from looking at larger businesses that were already members of the Economic Development Corporation. And I looked across the Grand Strand, sort of outside of those areas, and talked to some folks. And those business visits became sort of very interesting to me. So as I started engaging, I got sort of 4 reactions. A quarter of the folks sort of said, what's in it for me? I'm busy, I'm gonna move on. A quarter of the folks said, hey, that's great, good luck. All right, about a quarter of folks said, you know what, I really want to learn more about that, and I want to see what I can do as a member of the business community to participate in this process for the betterment of my business. And then there's that fourth one that are just, they're altruistic. They believe in being engaged and jumping in with both feet, being part of the community. How can I give back? And that term give back came up a lot of times. So this statistics here, we did some surveys, did some one-on-one conversations. I've touched about 150 businesses, and that's when I say I can recognize a face. They know about Partnership Grand Strand. I might see them walking down the street and wave. Of those, I'd say I did about 85 or so sit-down, face-to-face, hour-long conversations. And in some combination of those two, I've got about 70 surveys that were completed. And I'm going to present some of that data to the board later on. But the bottom line is businesses are optimistic about their business. They're optimistic about doing business on the Grand Strand. And the idea that businesses are running away from the Grand Strand doesn't pan out in the conversations I've had in the data that we've collected. Folks want to stay here and want to be here. They're young in their business, a lot of folks, less than 5 employees. They're trying to move things along, trying to scale their businesses, and they have kids in the schools. And when I talk to them about some of the challenges, they take off their business hat and they wear their citizen hat, and they speak about things a little bit differently. But I try to stay focused on the business side of the house. So that's what we're doing here with the business visits, Rotary clubs, BNI, GBN, and engage with Emerge in the GSAN. There's a gem right back here. We're going through a leadership transition in Emerge right now, for those of you that don't know. But I tell you, the future is very good for that Emerge Center. There is a true technology ecosystem forming there. One of the ways that we're touching that technology ecosystem is through a company that's here in our own backyard that happens to develop a product that uses artificial intelligence to recognize, it's a security system that recognizes the difference between a person and a cat, for example, walking across a construction site, let's just say. Well, since they have that relationship with artificial intelligence, they're also interested in developing that artificial intelligence technology to have a tool that businesses can use to get started, to sort of cut through some of the confusion associated with any number of 100 links that might be out there for businesses to go find and do a research project. When I talk to folks out here, there's folks that are in business, but a lot of the folks that I talk to, or a lot of folks that get referred to me, are folks that have an idea, and they really don't have any idea how to turn that idea into a business, or what are some of the moving pieces. There are resources out there for them that I connect them with, SCORE and others, but those conversations are really those seeds that are deep down in those little tiny plant pots that through business retention, expansion, and economic gardening at the small business level, we could take advantage of and have those people participate in this whole process that we've been discussing today. And this artificial intelligence tool is going to roll out formally next month. I just over this weekend got the little pilot version of it so I could play with it myself. We're going to work on that. And part of this is, look, let's just tell our story. Let's use this same business community that we've come to know, the same folks here that we now have a relationship with, to give some feedback on that tool and let that develop. That's all happening for free. That's part of the development process, an exchange of information using a local business a local business that has a relationship right here in the downtown. SASCON, many of you are familiar with. Some of you came to the presentation that we did a month or so ago. SASCON, we had slotted a August opportunity to do a founders conference, a smaller version of this greater software as a service connect process. We got some initial feedback that's really good. The technology community engaged with it, and with that enthusiasm, we went out and consulted with experts to look at hiring a marketing firm, to look at hiring an event planning firm. We talked to some of the folks out of Greenville that have been developing some of the ecosystem there. We had some folks that have done national level projects that you might see out in Silicon Valley, and they advised us that our timeline was pretty short to pull this together. So what we did, we had 2 reservations with the convention center. We had August and we had May of 25. And so we released the August date back to the convention center because they had a number of folks looking at those spaces, and we're going to focus on the 25 date. That's the update for those of you that heard about SASCON before. But SASCON is exciting because when we pull this off and we have a national level effort of folks coming here for a conference and learning what's going on, learning about the same conversation that you just heard only a year down the road, it's going to be exciting for them to see what they might be interested in here in our backyard, how to get on the ground floor with what Myrtle Beach is doing. And oh, by the way, the future might look like something like what Silicon Valley's been doing for a long period of time. That industry, the software as a service industry, is going from being a $3 trillion industry to about a $7 trillion industry estimated over the next 5 years. So again, that's that low-hanging fruit, that low-hanging opportunity. Howard and I sat down and coordinated our efforts. We didn't at first, but now we're synced up in terms of anything that has anything to do with technology going forward ties into the smart city. And what's really great about that smart city initiative too, that Howard didn't mention it, but he and I discussed, is think of those technologies running across all industries. Okay, so innovative technology associated with waste management, innovative technology associated with emergency services. Think about how technology runs across all those industries. And when you extrapolate outside of the smart city into the whole larger community, technology is everywhere. So investing in this technology ecosystem is absolutely the place to start. Here's just some other, sorry for the cutoff over here. I think you might be able to see it there. This is just a couple nuggets that reinforces exactly what BJ mentioned in some cases here. 71 job seekers for every 100 jobs. I didn't do the math, but it's about the same as what BJ just presented. This is the U.S. Chamber of Commerce end of year sort of roll up, and I thought there were a couple nuggets here that might be useful. A better than expected 2023, the impact of artificial intelligence, and notice over here, South Carolina Chamber of Commerce competitive agenda, talent pipeline, economic growth and prosperity. Doing this in lockstep with the greater community, I think, is key also. That's what I have for you today. It's an update and more to follow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. One of the things I hope you can see here as the team is talking about it is that the initiatives that they're sharing with you are very well aligned with what's happening nationally. And that's deliberate. That's the reason why we presented this way, because what we want to show you is that we're not just doing things because we think they're things that are good to do. We're doing them because they fit with the trends of the rest of the country, and they also work for Myrtle Beach. So it's a big picture as well as a kind of micro picture for the Grand Strand area. And last but not least, we will hear from James, who has got a little update for us on what he's been up to in infrastructure or in policy, I should say.
Now, like any political tide, I can't resist the opportunity to get behind the podium and speak to you for a little bit, so I appreciate you indulging me there. Now, I know we're a little bit over, so I'm gonna be a little brief in my remarks, but I wanna start off by show of hands. If you're on the Partnership Grand Strand Board, could you please raise your hand? Great turnout. Well, first of all, thank you for keeping our lights on. Second of all, look, I know you were sick of hearing about this hurricane evacuation analysis. We have been talking about this ad nauseum for months, but the good news is we have the final results. So for those of you who don't know, for about the past 7-8 months now, we've been working with Clemson University on a large hurricane evacuation analysis. It's assessing 2 major infrastructure projects and seeing their impact on hurricane evacuation times here in Georgetown and Horry counties. And we are not quite ready to share all those results. It's a very lengthy research paper. We're still going through those results ourselves. However, one thing I would like to share that we've gleaned so far from those results, and Horry County will be able to hear this, is that the Ride 3 program makes a significant impact on evacuation times. So we're gonna keep you updated on that as soon as we have the chance to digest all those results ourselves. We'll make sure to share them with you and give you all that great news. Now, the Horry County Workforce Survey, so you might recall from last town hall back in 23, we did a survey of full-time and part-time employees here in Horry County. Those are folks who worked and lived here. Got some interesting results on that. We assessed barriers to employment and living here based on infrastructure, cost of living, down to just business climate assessments. And some of those results have driven our programming as Partnership Grand Strand, and we got great reception from our board and some of our stakeholders we've shared that information with. So we're doing another survey in 24, but we're broadening it. So for this one, we're including our surrounding counties. We're focusing on different areas of interest based on 24, and we'll have those results probably, I'd say, by summer. And then finally, the 2024 policy priorities. So the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce, as you know, every year puts out the policy priorities. We're providing supplemental support in creating a brief for each of these priorities. Thank you for keeping it to one page, but there's still several priorities. And we're going to be sharing with each of you via email, and they will be on the chamber website as well as partnershipgrandstrand.com. And that's it. Keep it brief for y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, one page for me, and then we're all set up. Just really wanted to kind of update again. This is intended for all of our investors to kind of take a look at what we've been up to and some of the progress that we've made since we met last, which was 6 months ago. Since that time, we have built a brand new website. We are partnershipgrandstrand.com, and we are building I'll say, multitude of resources for you there. Our goal is to be a hub, if you will, for information related to all 4 of our pillars. So what's the latest information as it relates to job fairs? What's the latest information on policy? Where do we stand from the standpoint of economic development or from the business surveys that we're doing? So we're doing blogs. If you haven't been getting those through our Facebook or emails, please visit our website, because each of the leads are doing blog posts on a regular basis with current events, interesting information related to their pillars that will just continue to build everyone's minds. The more we know, the better we do, is the way we kind of think about it. If you haven't heard about our Insiders events yet, we're really excited about this initiative. This is a play to actually take the young and emerging talent, young professionals, college or upcoming college grads, and connect them in the marketplace in a very unique way. The notion of Insiders is we are facilitating that opportunity to get a behind-the-scenes look at something. We have done some work with the city to get and with MBDA to kind of give them an opportunity to see what you saw today, to understand what's coming in downtown. They've had an opportunity to hear from Brian Tucker. They've also had an opportunity to visit DC blocks. We even did a recent program that actually gave them a little bit of etiquette brush up in terms of how do I conduct myself. From a dining occasion all the way to a networking event and so on, because what we're finding is these young professionals still need a little bit of help there. And so we're trying to identify the opportunities with their help, and then we are trying to build something that's going to be unique and memorable and get them to socialize it, because one of the ones we have coming up is the symphony. You know, the arts are really important, and what these young students tell us is, I want to know all of what's going on down here in the Grand Strand area. So we're going to take them behind the scenes in partnership with the symphony, and we're going to give them an opportunity to talk to the maestro and touch and talk to the musicians, as well as the tech side of things, to see what goes into actually putting on a broadcast, putting on, I should say, a performance, if you will, the lights, the sound, that whole thing. We've done a cost of living analysis. We've had our first pass at it. We've got some updates for the board today, and that will continue to evolve. Our hope is to get a cost of living analysis that we can replicate for all of the markets that we've identified that we're losing students or talent to. So after we get Horry County the way we want it, we're going to go to Charleston, we're going to go to Wilmington, and then we'll identify where we go from there with the board's help. Communications. If you're not on our newsletter, we would love for you to sign up for it. Just visit our website, get on the newsletter. That's a lot of what you're hearing from us today is in that every month. We do have Facebook. We're now on Instagram, and we are really excited. I talked about the blog, but we're really excited. We're kicking the tires, and we'll talk to the board a little bit about a community-wide podcast. And what we're basically, it's in concept stage right now, but Partnership Grand Strand is interested in providing a community format in this podcast that all of the entities you heard from today would have an opportunity to be part of. So we're not looking to do it selfishly on PGS and our pillars, because we want to pull, again, everybody together and continue to inform folks about what's going on. And lastly is, Mark didn't mention a whole lot of this detail, but we are actually all about the data. And we have recently been working, Mark in particular, very closely with the city and Devin on what they call the ESRI data, which is giving us a great understanding of what the current situation is in this marketplace as it relates to business, and is giving us some really clear direction in terms of where do we need to focus next. And we're doing that in conjunction with the city, not in silos. So again, back to this whole notion of partnerships. So a lot happening as it relates to moving things forward. And with that, I want to say thank you so much for being here, and thank you for supporting PGS, because we wouldn't be here, and none of the things that you heard, at least from us today, the other folks are a little different entity, but we're here to support them, and we couldn't do it without y'all. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of the day. We'll take a break, and then our board